Хай співати вже вам. Чоловічія слаба, чоловічія слаба, чоловічія слаба, болить мене голова. Чоловічія слаба, болить мене голова, болить мене голова, болить мене голова. Болить мене голова, ще серденько та й нога. Болить мене голова.
These are the many faces of the women I met in Ukraine. Though they vary in age and circumstance, they all have one common factor that binds them all. They all have suffered and somehow survived, and are still dealing with the ramifications of living under the crushing and sometimes deadly suppression of the communist regime. Each photograph has a story, but I will share with you just a few. Let me introduce you to some of my friends.
Нарубав він паличок, так для моїх листочок. Нарубав він паличок, так для моїх листочок. А як став він лічити, а як став він лічити, а як став він лічити.
Політику, спекуляцію, переход границі, за те, що він не видав, всіх студентів не видавав.
This is Raisa Fedoseyevna Chibanenko. She marches daily in front of the Parliament building, wearing a banner and a coat to which she has pinned the many unanswered letters and petitions that she has written to official authorities to try and get help for her two sons, Volodymyr and Misha Chibanenko, who are in jail.
Уїхав із Донецька зовсім, як прийшов з тюрми. Вони перестали переслідувати другого сина, Чебаненка Володимира. Подбрасували йому дважди.
Both boys were approached by KGB agents to turn fellow students in. They refused and therefore were beat up, put under surveillance, framed, and thrown in jail. They both are currently serving 10 years in jail.
Судді не хочуть ніде приймати, прячуться, понімаєте, в назначений день. Оце Якименко суддя.
When I questioned some of the members of parliament about her case and if something can be done to help her, most of them just shrugged their shoulders, walked away, saying, "What can I do?"
І дали йому 11 років. Зараз я оце їздю, ходатайствую, судді не хочуть ніде приймати, прячуться, понімаєте.
Now Raisa goes around pleading her two sons' cases. No court wants to listen to her. The judges see people only one day a week, but on the appointed day they make themselves unavailable. She tells me, "This one judge always receives on Wednesdays and he is always sick. He should have retired a long time ago, but they all just keep on sitting, just like they sat under the communist regime. There is no change. We are supposedly an independent country, but we are really ruled by communist bandits and the mafia. And here I am in such awful weather, an invalid, totally underdressed. I am freezing and no one pays any attention to me."
Отак, ви з Америки, да? Дай Бог вам здоров'я. З Новим годом, з крещенням. Завтра крещення моєму сину 17 лет. Третьому, а я стою тут бідолажною за своїх дітей.
Tomorrow is my youngest son's birthday. Maybe you can help me.
Дякую. Дуже спасибо.
Чоловічія слаба, болить мене голова, болить мене голова, болить мене голова. Болить мене голова, ще серденько та й нога. Болить мене голова, ще серденько та й нога. Як бездобрий чоловік, як бездобрий чоловік. Як бездобрий чоловік, знайшов би ти мені лік. Як бездобрий чоловік.
volgare. Koniec filmu.
This is Maria. She's an invalid and cannot walk. She had a childhood disease called polymyelitis, which softened her bones and stunted the growth of her legs. At the time of her disease, there was advanced technology that could have helped her, but because she had no ties with the Communist Party, it was not made available to her.
Вона віддана, вийшла за такого чоловіка здорового, а вона на костелях. Ні, то не я говорю за свою коліжанку.
А він також, я кажу, він здоровий.
А він на костелях ходить.
Nadia is an orphan and was shuttled from one orphanage to another all her life. Because the government has no other place to house her, she and her invalid husband share one single room in a senior citizens nursing home.
Вона сітки в'яже свитери, заказ людям, кравчиня сама шиє на машинці. Все добре.
Це можете.
Maria has no special services or devices to help her cope with her condition. She now uses a child's toy and a paddle to get around. One would think that a woman in her circumstances would have been bitter, resentful, and angry, but Maria is one of the happiest and positive people I have met there. She is constantly smiling and joking with her friends, and when I expressed outrage at her living conditions and at how hard it must be for her to cope with her disability, she just answered that she's used to it. People can get used to anything. When I asked Maria why she uses only one paddle to wheel herself around, she told me that when she finally got her cart, a kind carpenter heard that she needed a set of paddles, and he handmade a set for her. Unfortunately, the next day, some kid stole one of her paddles and broke it. Ever since then, she was forced to use one paddle only, because she couldn't afford to have another one made. Most people who walk up and down this hallway don't even notice the small rise in the floor, but Maria had to work many months before she built up enough muscle to be able to scale it without rolling back several times. Maria told me that she recently saw on television a program on how American disabled people live and all the conveniences that they have. She said with awe, they have mechanical wheelchairs and computerized braces so that they can walk. I asked her about the possibility of getting a wheelchair for her, but she only laughed and said, who cares enough to do something like that? Here, all the other residents of the home are carrying their cups to the main dining hall for supper, but Maria is headed for her room. Maria cannot reach the table in the formal dining room, so she is forced to cook and eat on the floor in her room. The state provides a television and a refrigerator for the entire floor, and she gets to keep it in her room. Here Maria is heating up some vareniki, a traditional Ukrainian meal made of dough and potatoes. which she has made for herself and her husband. Usually they are served with sour cream, but unfortunately, Maria cannot afford such a luxury. The state provides the basic staples: flour, potatoes, and occasionally some butter. Anything else she must buy with her own money. These vareniki that she made were supposed to last her for the rest of the week, but she insisted on feeding me and my cameraman. It took quite a while for the food to be heated up because the hot plate that she uses is faulty. Once a month she receives an invalid's meager compensation from the state, which she earns by cutting out and making boxes out of cardboard. She supplements her income by knitting sweaters by order. For several months, Maria couldn't cut cartons because her one pair of scissors broke, and it took that long to acquire another pair.
Ой, пішов він у лісок, нарубав він паличок, нарубав він паличок, нарубав він паличок, нарубав він паличок, так для моїх листочок, нарубав він паличок, так для моїх листочок. А як став він лічити, а як став він лічити, а як став він лічити, ну я стала кричати.
Така медицина в нас в Києві, але ж Сахаров не передав, і жінка його теж сказала.
This is Nadia. She's a victim of the medical mafia of the former communist regime. What started out as a simple intestine operation ended up as 6 operations, and 5 years later the problem still exists. During her 3rd operation, they left instruments inside her, which were discovered because she had 3 holes in her stomach that were leaking.
Проводив рух, приїхали 10 чоловік, год по 70, і я просила, щоб їй дали слово.
Between operations, she was constantly protesting and writing to different government agencies to get proper care, but all to no avail.
Ви в Москву їздили, жалувались в КГБ? Кажу, жалувалась.
Here she tells how during one of her operations, while she was on the operating table, a KGB agent burst into the room, grabbed her by her hair, pulled her head back, and yelled in her face, "Why are you protesting and complaining to the authorities?" Nadia says, "I am cut in half and this man is interrogating me. Is this normal, the way they conduct medicine in the Soviet Union?" I tried to get footage of her protesting in front of the Parliament building, but the militia surrounding the building didn't even let me photograph her. I managed to get one, but they threatened to take my film away.
Я говорю, щоб мене придали гласності, що такі мені питки роблять у вас і в Москві, і в Києві. Он, да ви що, це не може бути такого, такое ніколи невозможно.
Ось хоч наказав.
This is her husband. He says, "They cut her all up and now she is in pain and suffering. She's been violated and no one cares but me."
Знаєте, ось вона і бореться. І бореться ж вона, і все.
For the past 6 years, she has written many letters and got signatures for countless petitions, but no one seems to care.
Вот вообще целая групповая мафия. Все врачи, Райздрав, прокуроры, вот их всех. Гора, начальник управления, Вазиян, главный психиатр города, Мартыненко, вся прокуратура, Колзи. Ну, вся мафия городская, вот она мне, вся в этом сборе. Сейчас я ищу эту справку, где они меня сняли с учета.
Nadia says, "My stomach is stitched, this burst, my intestines stick out, they tore open my lung. I have to have another operation. I will pay any price, just if they would only fix me. I am constantly bandaged with rubberized bandages. I just want help."
Я став величати, я став величати, но я стала кричати. Я став величати, но я стала кричати. А хто тебе так навчив, а хто тебе так навчив? А хто тебе так навчив, щоб ти мене так вчив? Навчив мене старший брат, навчив мене старший брат.
Літо то про зиму, то чоботів, то капчиків, і дівчинці треба. А як вже я тепер запостаріла, я купила, то стоїть, а я не одно ходити. Ти мені не мили нічого, ти мені не треба такі гроші. Вам молодим треба, а мені не треба.
This is Maria. She says, "I am so sad and I am all alone. If I had a neighbor or a friend like you who would just come over once in a while and ask me, 'What are you up to, Baba?' But I have no one now. Neighbors don't even visit me anymore."
Себе ми до мене, хоч запитали, бабко, що робите? То я би з вами тішила. Ну, так немає нікого. А тепер і сусід до сусіда не йде.
Up to 6 months of age, Maria's mother didn't feed her in the hope that she would die. The family was very poor and already had a son to feed and care for, who could at least be useful for work. But Maria was just another mouth to feed. She was forced at a very early age to work hard in the field on the collective farm. Here Maria is asking me why everyone turns red and runs away when they see me approach with my camera. I asked her, "Why don't you run away?" She told me, "I am not afraid. They destroyed everything except my soul. There is nothing left. I want you to know the truth. I want you to see what the communists have done to us."
Це бересток. Якщо вітер цього року мені улонув такі за хату, а тут ці граби. А дивіться, оце цього. Це граби, це з ліса.
Here she shows me the shed where she alone must pitch the coal and store the timber for the fire in the house.
А ти цього горіща була купа велика, ти вони брали.
She must lock up the shed because the neighborhood boys often steal the wood and the coal that she stores there.
Я кажу, я до них, до сусідів, ні до кого не йду нічого брати. А він каже, мені голова, я знаю, що ви не берете.
There is no indoor plumbing, so she must get fresh water for the house every day.
От такі се подивіться, та по бухту в мене так мої. Піти колись людина.
She has no electricity in the house and uses coal to heat the place. In order to film and see, we had to put an artificial light on.
Я не розмайоха, але того даю, бо люди не хочуть давати księdzam. Казав мені ksiądz Снятинський.
Голки що, з рижом?
З режем голубчики.
Food she has enough of, but she can't eat much because of her failing health, which has been affected by the Chernobyl disaster. The town she lives in is a Chernobyl town. She has lung and breathing problems and has severe arthritis in her hands. It's so debilitating that sometimes she cannot even comb her own hair.
То сухарик. А воно схне, я кажу, покладу та шкода.
She lives in a one-room house which has a dirt floor, a leaky roof, and cracks in the walls. She cannot afford to fix anything, and therefore the room is constantly drafty and everything in it is damp.
Баба каже, ти мене, а я тебе. Ну, таке саме, мене руки болять, шпикаєш, я встану, плачу. Отут поковтаю, отут поб'ють. Та що це?
Here she tells me the story about when late one night, when she was asleep, the communists came and took away her father, brother, and uncle to Siberia. They then set fire to the house, but she and her mother managed to escape. Maria's mother soon died after that, and she lived on the mercy of her neighbors. She was raped and had a child that was stillborn.
Вони беруть спати, ні ходити, ні лежати. Станути вже, цього хочуть і цього. Як меш, що робити?
In spite of all the horrors that she endured throughout her life, Maria is not bitter or resentful. She just wants to tell her story.
Я вже нападу на голову, до подушки, трошки голову переклоню. Та й переклонила, стала досить. Жарено, веткосно, кажу вставати, ще трошки доляжу, бо не годно. Не сплю, не сплю.
Raisa, Maria, Nadia, and Maria are just a few of the many victims of the communist regime. All of their basic human rights have been blatantly violated, and no one really cares, and if they do, they have no power to do anything about it. The power lays in the hands of those who used to impose these horrors on the Ukrainian women. They in turn created a government that enforced these suppressions. And now that there are new men in power, forming new governments, will they and how long will it take for them to change these traditions?
Я став величати, но я стала кричати. А хто тебе так навчив, а хто тебе так навчив? А хто тебе так навчив, щоб ти мене так вчив? Навчив мене старший брат, навчив мене старший брат. Навчив мене старший брат, бо він свою лічив так. Навчив мене старший брат, бо він лічив свою так. Навчили сусіди, навчили сусіди, бо так роблять завсіди. Ти що?